let me just tell you, I have had my fair share of bad dates. So today, we're doing a little episode of Confessions of a Bad Date. Okay, so I've liked this guy for a while now, and I kind of like the quiet type. I'm not up for the obnoxious, I want to be the center of attention kind of guy. And so in class one day, I wrote him a note asking for his number, being kind of daring, and he wrote me back with his number, and so we started texting, and then he asked me out to dinner to go to Fashion Valley one night, and so I said sure, because I was interested, and he shows up. Okay, so here's the problem. I mean, I like a quiet guy, but he did not say a word the rest of the night. We got in the car and it was silent, and so I turned on the radio so it wouldn't be all awkward and things. And then we got to the restaurant and I had to give the hostess our name and say how many went to our party. And then we got, then when we got to order, he pointed at the menu. I'm not kidding with you. Like, he pointed. He could just say, oh, I want this, blah, blah, blah. But no, he had to point. And I'm kidding, like, and the rest of the night, I would ask him a question, he'd give me like a one-word response, and I just couldn't take it. So eventually, I told him that I didn't feel good, and he took me home, and I called my friends and went to the movies instead. Ooh, what a dork.
Anyways, I met this girl on MySpace. She lives out of town, but we know each other through a mutual friend or whatever. We start talking a lot on MySpace. It moved over to the texting world. You know, not a big deal, but we got pretty close. And so finally, she comes into town with her family, and you know, I was gonna take her out. I mean, it's first date. What are you gonna do? So she shows up at my door, and opened the door, and apparently the MySpace picture she had been using was at least 3 years old, or after the last time she had shaved. Mustache really is an understatement. It was more like a full beard, goatee action type thing. I wasn't sure whether to take her out or sell her pelt to some kind of fur manufacturer. It just did not go well. Downhill from there. There you go. Worst date ever.
So we were at like this really nice restaurant, and it was like one of those restaurants that has like 2 stories. And so like after dinner, well, we were on the 2nd story, and so after dinner, which was like amazing, we're walking down the stairs, and all of a sudden I trip on my brand new dress, and I just roll down the stairs, and I roll into this dessert cart at the bottom, and I hit it, and the desserts fly everywhere, and I was so embarrassed. And my date, he just stands there, like staring at me. And so I get up and I just ran out all alone. It was horrible.
I'm not gonna even tell you how hot Melissa is. Like, really hot. Like when she said she'd go with me to the senior ball, I got so nervous just thinking about it, I seriously started to sweat. So when I picked her up, I was super excited, but I was also super scared. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she's quite the looker. But I never saw this coming. I mean, I knew I had the most beautiful date in the world, but this isn't exactly the looks I thought I'd get. All night people were staring at us, everywhere we went. Why? I'll tell you why. When I arrived, she looked like she had painted her dress on, it was so tight. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's hot, but I wasn't sure if I could put my arm around her without crossing some line. And the dress was sleeveless too, so like, every time she kept pulling on the top whenever she moved to keep herself in the dress, basically. I wasn't sure how I was going to react if she sneezed, because something was going to pop out, seriously. My friends called me the Pimp Meister all night, though. Next time, it's cheetah print all the way.
So I met this guy, and he was kind of on the ghetto side, which isn't my style at all, but I figured it would be good to try something new. We decided to meet up at the mall and go to a movie, and I got dropped off first, and as I was waiting for him, I looked over and I saw him walking through the door, and in the 100 yards that it would take him to walk from the door to me, he had to stop at least 50 times and pull up his pants. I decided the ghetto thing wasn't really for me, and I turned and ran away because I knew he wasn't going to be able to catch up with me anyway.
So when I asked him if he wanted to go out for coffee, and he said, let's pray about this. That should have been my first clue. But anyway, I called him And the next day he called me back, and so we met after church, and I met at his car. And he told me that if I still wanted to go to coffee, he was willing to go with me. So I said, sure, fine. And before I could leave his car, we had to pray. So he grabbed my hand and we bowed our heads and we prayed. Then we got to Starbucks and we ordered our drinks, and I was about to take a sip, but no, we had to pray before he could drink. And then I decided that I should start talking about something that wasn't praying. So I told him that I'm trying out for soccer next Saturday, and he told me we should pray about it. So then it gets worse. And then his friend walks in the door, and he stops our conversation and turns around, and he's like, hey buddy, I'm praying for you. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? So we left Starbucks, and he asked me if I needed a ride home, and I told him that I think I should pray about that.
He said he'd pick me up. Then he showed up. I kid you not, on a scooter. It was our prom, for crying out loud. Our prom. My hair looked like a freaking tumbleweed, and my dress looked like a cape blowing in the wind. Ugh, what an idiot.
Okay, so it was like my first date ever, and we were at this is so embarrassing. We were at the movies, and it was this really intense part, and the whole place was quiet, and I started to get a little choked up, and all of a sudden, I burped like super loud, and it was so loud that it made me kind of laugh, and then I started to laugh really loud, and then I laughed so loud that I farted, like loud fart. My date, she got totally pissed. She grabbed her popcorn, huge bag of popcorn, threw it all over me, cussed at me, walked out, never dated me again. Worst date ever.
You give me fever.